April 7, year 2019. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Session 2 of verse 44 of Surah Anbia, Surah number 21. As I have said before, this surah has 6 very important miracle verses. I talked about 4 of them before, and then last time I talked about the 5th one, that is verse number 44. I talked about part of it in one session, and today, God willing, I will talk about the rest of this surah. Today is the second session. I will read that verse again. It says, "Do they not know that we give to the earth and reduce it from its sides? Shall they then overcome?" Discussion. In session 1, I talked about the part that says, "Do they not know that we give to the earth?" Now I will talk, that was one part of this verse. Now I will talk about 2 other parts of this verse, which are, 1, we reduce it from its sides. We reduce the earth from its sides. And the third part, that is one part that I will talk about. The second part is, shall they then overcome? As I said in session 1, the mantle is coming out through both the continental plates and the oceanic plates. In the continental plate, the example that I showed last time, and I will show you today also, is the continent of Africa. Continent of Africa is one large plate, but the mantle is coming out through it, and like a band is going from north to south in it. On the right side, on the east side of Africa is Indian Ocean. On the south side of it is also Indian Ocean. On the west side is Atlantic Ocean. And on the north is Mediterranean Sea. The geologists state that if this coming out of the mantle continues, in about 150 to 200 million years, the continent of Africa will become 2 parts, and between them there would be an ocean. Also, last time I said that at about the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which has the oceanic crust, Africa has continental crust. In about the middle of Atlantic Ocean, mantle is coming out, again like a band from north to south. And if it continues, it will push the Atlantic Ocean. At the right side of it is continent of Africa. It will push the oceanic crust of Atlantic Ocean to Africa, and at the west of Atlantic Ocean is the American continent, the continent of America, and it is pushing it against that. The continental crust is about 20 to 50 kilometers thick stone. And when the mantle comes out through it in Africa, it pushes the mantle forcefully against this thick stone. And mantle is not solid because of the heat, it is semi-liquid. But the force is so enormous that pushes this semi-liquid material against 20 to 50 kilometers stone and pushes it through them. And then pushes the African continent to the sides. And in Atlantic Ocean, the thickness of the crust at the bottom of Atlantic Ocean is between 5 and 10 kilometers. But it is much, much harder than the granite stone, which is making the continental stone. The oceanic crust is made of basalt stone, which is black in color, and it is very, very hard. And then this also needs a lot of force. And then it expands these both. That needs a lot of force also. In the continental stone, as I said, if it continues, it will break this the plate of Africa, that, as I said, is 20 to 50 kilometers thick. It will break it to half, and it will push these two halves of the continent of Africa, one to the east side and one to the west side, and finally there will be an ocean between them. That needs an enormous amount of force to do it. And in the continent, in the Atlantic Ocean, this force pushes it to the east and to the west. At the east, Atlantic Ocean has reached the African continent, and at the west it is next to the continent, the American continent of America. So it will be pushed against, in fact it is now being pushed against both of them. When an oceanic crust reaches a continental crust, that it is the situation at Atlantic Ocean right now, it bends 45 degrees and goes underneath of it. So Atlantic Ocean, if it continues expanding, if the mantle comes out more and continues expanding it, the Atlantic Ocean at the east side bends 45 degrees, bending so much, 5 to 10 kilometers of stone, of very, very hard stone of the oceanic crust, the basalt, and goes under at the continent of Africa. And at the west side, it is, in fact, right now it is doing this on both sides. At the west side, it bends 45 degrees and goes under the American continent. And that needs a very, very mighty force to do that. Also, we should remember that Atlantic Ocean has several kilometers of water in it, and it is salt water, which is heavier than regular water. And it moves against this amount of water, the very, very heavy water which is on it. Now I will read verse 44 again. It says, "Do they not know that we give to the earth and reduce it from its sides? Shall they then overcome?" So this is what I talk now is reducing it from its sides. It goes, mantle goes under the continental crust and goes in the mantle, and because of the heat which is there, it becomes semi-liquid and becomes part of the mantle. So God uses a lot of force to do these things, a lot of power. God has created the physical laws for our world, including the earth. And all these things that happen, God does them through the physical laws. The cosmologists, the specialists of the world, of the universe, many of them say that there are, besides our world, there are many other worlds also. And in those worlds, the physical laws might be different than the physical law that we have in our world. And so these cosmologists, instead of the term universe, they use the term multiverse for the whole world, the big world, so that it explains the other worlds also. What we know now about how this happens, the geologists say that it is all because of the movement of the mantle. Mantle comes from the inner part, from the area close to the inner core, comes outwards towards the crust. When it reaches the crust, the plates of the crust, it moves horizontally under them and then goes back towards the inner core. And they say that all this happens because of this movement of the mantle. Why mantle is moving this way? What is the situation? For that, we do not know about it. The scientists have a small knowledge about it. But in the future, the geologists will do more studies, and they will have more information about the mantle, and they will have more knowledge that how God performs this. Now I will read the verse again. It says, "Do they not know that we give to the earth and reduce it from its sides? Shall they then overcome?" So far I have talked about we give to the earth and about the part that says we reduce it from its sides. Now I talk about the last part of this verse, which says, "Shall they," it means the non-believers, "shall they then overcome?" The answer is quite obvious. They will definitely not overcome the power of God. Even if, excuse me, even if their power was billions or even trillions of what it is. I will stop at this moment now, and God bless you and thank you.